seeing Monica from City of Tucson. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Nicholas Trees, our poster child for nonprofits, always an attendee.
Thank you.
Let's see. Who else? Alicia Tuttle. Alicia, can you tell me who you're with?
I'm with AAA.
AAA, an RWE site. Yay.
Mhm.
You guys are fully remote.
Yes.
We'll be talking about that a little bit today. Renee with PCC. He must be good at juggling because he's got so many sites and trying to serve all the different Pima Community College sites. Marie Gonzalez. Marie, who are you with?
I'm with Freeport.
Freeport Mining. Got it. And I apologize if I don't know all your names and who you're with, but you know, there's a lot of you. We're outnumbered. Karen, I see you from PDEQ from Pima County. John Schumacher is from Oro Valley. Standing in for Matt Jankowski. John, we'd like to circle back with you and Matt. We need to set up a meeting so we can do an orientation with you. Let's see. Diane, you are with Town of Marana, standing in for Maureen. Okay, who else we have here? I do not see, let's see. I don't see City of Tucson, South Tucson. Am I missing someone? Looking. City of South Tucson, if you were on the phone, please let us know who's here. Hearing none, I will count South Tucson as absent. Town of Sahuarita is Lily. Wow, we got 2 pages of people. This is beautiful. Anybody from Town of Sahuarita? Are you on the phone? Do we have anybody? Not hearing anyone. So we're missing Town of Sahuarita and we're missing South Tucson. If they come on later, we'll check again. All right, great. Well, let's get rolling. So for all of you who are here, we do collect in kind for this meeting. In kind is used to match our federal dollars. TRP, just so you're aware, through all of the survey activity and projects that we have, we are able to serve as the golden goose of in kind. We generate nearly $200,000 in kind that is used across the programs at PAG. So appreciate all that what your staff do in terms of participating in these surveys that we have conducted. And I'm sure anybody who is scheduled to do their survey in the spring they need a timeout for all the data collection that we've been doing. We just wrapped up our air survey, which has been a really successful effort this year. Kudos to both Bree, who is our admin. You'll see her name on our list of attendees. She's worked with Adam, and they have sliced and diced and called and emailed and worked with all of our TCs and addressed all the changes and staffing moves that happen, which is pretty consistent in this program. And so he'll be sharing that information with you in just a bit. So the next piece that we want to talk to you about is all of the very cool things that have been going on with TRP. For those who are repeat attendees, you have heard me talk about Peter. Peter is our developer. He works with us and makes the behind the scenes happen. Recently, we had a staff meeting where Adam coined a description for him, and that he is the architect, the mechanic, and the exterminator. Some people in our own agency didn't understand what the exterminator meant, but we get a lot of bugs in the system. So when we start changing all the coding that is on the back end of our online platform, things pop up. So we practice that if we break it, we rebuild it and make it stronger. So some of the things that we have done in the past year, from July forward to now, have really strengthened and made our system better. It's been a uphill climb in some cases, because in July of 2022, we looked at how the workforce has changed, and we've addressed that people like Alicia, who's with AAA, they have gone 100% remote. And being remote is a perfect storm for TRP, because that means all those vehicle miles are being saved. It doesn't mean that, we've eliminated all traffic or, gotten people off the road, but on certain days, for sure, we have those individuals who are working from home, who now we can calculate precisely where their cross streets are to where the location would be in terms of where their office. Some remote work employers do actually have bricks and mortar where we're able to calculate those 2 points. In some cases, we have remote work employers who go through the process and they don't have an address at all. They don't have any sort of structure in our region. And in that case, we choose a central location so that we're able to estimate those vehicle miles traveled. So the remote work employer confirmation process we rolled out in July. When we predicted participation for the entirety of our TRP group, we thought we would have about 20 employers that would embrace that process. As of today, we have 13. So those 13 employers represent 7,754 employees in the region. Certainly the process is one that is very specific to the type of industry that it affords that remote work. We're working with grocery stores and retail outlets and other employers who require their staff to be boots on the ground. It's not an option for them. In some cases, we do have employers where it might be a hybrid, where they have some people who can work from home and others that cannot. We walk them through that process. The qualifier for RWE is that 40% or greater of the total employee count would need to be remote. So we go through a separate process. What we have is, if you see during the survey season, the notices that go out, at the top of that notice, it indicates that if you have a workforce that is 40% or greater working remotely, they connect directly with me. They'll be connecting with Adam in the future also. We confirm their employee count, we confirm all their contacts, and then we send them an absolutely separate link. The separate link is their way of answering that survey requirement. So as TCs, there's 4 things that we require in that an employer assigns a TC, that they share information with their employees, and that they complete both the employee survey and the air survey. The RWE process fulfills the employee survey requirement. So, any questions about RWE for anybody who's online this morning? Raising of hands, speak up if you'd like to turn on your microphone. No. Okay. So the next online platform enhancement that we'll share with you is, as we've looked at workforce changes and how we are all operating differently, each year when we work with Peter, we will make a laundry list of wishes. And those wishes get put into, can you make the system do this for Peter? And through the period of December, January, and February, sometimes it flops over into March, he will go into the back end and rewrite code to do the things that we have wished for. One of these, if you're not familiar with and you haven't surveyed this year, I'm going to share my screen. And we have the online TRP tracker. So as an employer that is surveying, you have the opportunity to look at where you are in terms of. You can look at the bottom of the reminder pages that we send out to you.
Hey,
And
Mary, sorry to interrupt. I don't know
Yes.
if I don't know if we've got your screen if you're trying to display that information right now.
not yet, and things are moving like peanut butter this morning.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure.
Thank you. And because CenturyLink is not on this call this morning, I'm just gonna say thank you to them. Oh my. We're gonna get there eventually. It's retrieving the employer information. Try a different window. I had it all queued up, believe it or not. Alrighty. Dun, 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 dun. Beautiful. There we go. Alrighty. So we're gonna show you a Top Gun here that is doing quite well. All right. Interesting. Thank you for your patience while we do this. This is showing my Zoom screen. Here we go. All right. We're on it. Okay. So when we send out reminders every Tuesday during the survey season, anybody who is a TC, you have to be, your email is how you would access it. But at the very bottom of the reminder, there's a link that says TRP tracker. And company is not spelled wrong. We gotta get that changed from Peter. You see that, Adam?
I do indeed. I'll make a note of it.
So there's where the exterminating happens. All right, so we put in the email and the company code because those are two specific items that the TC would be aware of. It's your company code is also the password that you use during your survey. So what is that about? They're currently surveying, so lovely.
Mary, you might want to check and make sure there's not a space after the M and .com. Nope.
Beautiful. Good job. The data guy helps out once again. So at the bottom of those reminders, you'll be able to click into your email and your company code, making sure there's no spaces, as Adam pointed out, it will cause an error. But it would allow you to look and see your total employee count, total survey responses, and where you are in terms of your response rate. Arizona Complete Health finished on the 4th of June. We gave them a little bit of time because of the holiday. They ended up with an 87% response rate. So whether an organization is a multi-site, which we're going to get into talking about that in a minute, or if it is a singular site, all those different locations would be listed, or the one location would be listed. So if you wake up at 2 a.m. and you want to know how you're doing, you'll be able to click on that link and be able to get that information. This allows our TCs to be much more independent. Oftentimes they're emailing me and asking where are they, if they're trying to get to a particular number, or in some cases, we've had employers where right in that last week, it's sort of like watching a horse race, and that you can see them start to tick up to above 50% or 60 or 70%. So this is a new feature. It allows TCs to access their information and help motivate their staff to be able to tell them where they are in terms of numbers. So if you have a roadmap, it's easier than just flying blind. So we have that, and then The other piece is, I wanted to show you, but I'm wondering if it's gonna work. Is the RWE link. Let's see if I can get into that one. Things have not been performing for me this morning. All right. So I'm going to share my screen again and hopefully this will work. So the other one is I was speaking to you about the RWE and the type of access. Once we send someone a specific link, that specific link takes them to a page that looks like this. I'm wondering. Nope, it's not going to let me in because they've already completed it. My apologies. So as an RWE, what happens is it takes you to that screen where you put in an email. And as part of that, there are specific questions that are asked. How many employees do you have? And then also for the different days of the activity, you would enter the specific number of employees that work 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week. If they're 5 days a week, obviously they're 100% remote. So it is very specific to the employer location, and the numbers all have to add up. And then when we capture all that data, what we're able to do is do the calculations for VMT saved, and then that becomes a separate reporting segment of our monthly report and of our annual report. The annual report this year will be the first time that we are summarizing for the entirety of the year these RWE numbers. So we work with ADEQ to be able to report those numbers up and be able to show of those 13 employers that we currently have, what that translates into for VMT savings and also emissions offsets. So for RWE, it's a more simplified process, but it also allows us to keep those remote working employers in our system. There are always potential for change. We're watching workforce operations evolve as things are fluid. We're going to call it fluid as they're able to modify and connect with the different members of their staff. So we have the TRP tracker, we have the RWE updates. Any questions for anybody who's out there? Do you have segments of your workforce that anything is different or you're anticipating a change? No. Teresa from TEP, I'm going to pick on you for just a minute because I know there's a big chunk of the folks that you have that are actually working remotely.
Yes, that is correct.
Do you have any idea if it's over 40%?
I actually do not have any idea, but we're still in hybrid, some departments, but I can find out for you.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, we love getting the primary data. Those are we're not pushing anybody to make this choice. But between your two sites, although you have a great number of field workers as well, it may not roll up that that's how it works, but, and we combined your sites, which we're going to talk about multi-address sites in a minute, but it would be, you know, I'm willing to have that conversation to see what does that look like for you guys.
Mary, we also have a hand raised from Alicia Tuttle.
Yes, Alicia.
Okay, so we recently did like an org change, and I know that we're assuming, or I guess like merging another call center. I believe they're in Tucson, but there might be a change, and I don't know if they're fully remote or if they actually go on site. So once I find out that information, do I let you know, or who do I? Okay, so I'll reach out to you once I can confirm that.
Is it an existing center that is here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so very likely they could be part of TRP. We can have that offline since it's probably top secret information right now and you're not allowed to say who it is. But yeah, The idea would be that we can merge the two companies together. There's a way to do that in our database. Planning ahead as much as you're able to, appreciate any lead time. And then in terms of your survey month, I don't know that off the top of my head, but you know, as long as we have 30 days, we can move mountains. We also can move mountains in 2 weeks, but 30 days is always better.
Okay. Yeah, I just completed the survey, I think last month or somewhere recent, so.
Okay. Yeah, we're approaching the end of June, and I don't know about the rest of you, but wasn't it just January and now it's almost the end of June? This year seems to be going by very, very quickly. So, okay, the other piece that we want to share with you is, as we've seen the workforce change, we've looked at, okay, what's the most effective way that we can reach the greatest number of people? For the longest time, we have looked at what is the number of sites that we have within the TRP universe. And the focus was to expand the number of actual employer sites listed. And that was the metric that TRP was measured by. So at the end of 2022, we had 251 sites. In some cases, there was multiple site listings for the same employer. So we looked at, okay, how can we make this more efficient? How can we ease the administrative burden on our TCs? How can we look at this as positioning ourselves so that we can grow, keep expanding the reach of the program, and not continually add on more administrative reporting, management of different data sets. So what we did is we completely did a 90-degree turn, and we took all of the employers that had multiple site addresses and we compressed them into one employer. Now, we don't ever change anything without having some growing pains. So what we found, and some of it has been discovered with our air survey process, is, you know, it's really difficult to do a one size fits all. We'll have to make adjustments along the way. And that's part of our, you know, break it and rebuild it philosophy. And again, always giving credit to Peter, because when we come up with these ideas, he's like, okay, let me think about that for 24 hours. But then he always figures it out. And so now, we were able to go from 251 listings to 165 employers. And while that would appear as if you're making the program smaller, it actually afforded us to grow. And one example that I will give is when we worked with the Amphi School District. The Amphi School District originally had 4 listings. In working with their compliance officer, we now capture and can communicate with the entirety of their district, all of their schools, elementary, high school, junior high school, and their administrative and transportation and food service group. So overnight, by allowing them to provide all of their addresses, we were able to increase the representative workforce for Amphi School District. We went up by 864 employees overnight. So that is true also of Vale School District, Marana School District, Sunnyside School District, Safeway stores, Albertson stores, also Fry's, which is continuing to grow and add different locations. And again, we've focused on these that have multiple sites. Target is also one of those. And through the air survey, for those of you who completed your air survey, there's now an additional box as well where we can put in all those additional addresses. Banner Hospital, we're still working with them, making sure that we capture both their hospital, their behavioral health, their clinics. They're massive. They're almost as big as the U of A. So in making that shift, it was painful. Adam was not here to witness me complaining, and you know, I thought I was going to have shoulder surgery because of all the different data entry and everything. But we are now in a position where at the end of 2022, the entirety of TRP and all of our employers represented 134,000 and change number of employees. As of last week, when Adam completed pushing all the air survey data, we are above 150,000. And Karen, I'm gonna say to you, since you haven't, you've been TRP for a very long time. I look back at history, it's never been that high. So it was really amazing to be able to condense the number of sites, but yet be able to expand the program. We see that as a huge success. And we want to be able to be in a position where we can continually add and position ourselves to grow and capture new employers that are in our region. So any questions from anybody about a multi-site? Anybody? You? I wanted to be able to show them the so for example, there we go. I'm going to share my screen and give you a little insight. We're going to pick on Target here. Everybody you can see my screen? Yeah, thumbs up. Yes, okay. So as a employer, if you have multiple sites, what we are able to do is we look at survey options and we have just a simple box. So the format is whatever the name of that site is, the address with the brackets, and how many employees are at that site. So for Alicia, depending on how you're going to manage it, if it's a separate revenue center, it's a standalone, or if it has an address of its own, we could potentially keep you separately unless they're going to be 100% remote work, but we can talk through that. When I mentioned that we're still working with Banner because they have quite the list and they have different functions at the same address, so we have to condense those down. But it allows us to give both a specific number for an employer address and how many employees are at that address, and be able to do more precision calculations. So super simple. Through the magic of Peter's work, he was able to come up with something that all we need that list as either an Excel or a Word file, and we can update those. For the longest time, both the city of Tucson and Pima County were the only ones that had a multi-site listing. Pima County is so large and so diverse. They have a 2-tier system, but we don't want to do that across the board because it's very complex. When you have government services such as Pima County, you have libraries. You have libraries in 12 different addresses, or you have different services. And so that's why they have a special case. So for multi-site addresses, the title of that is not exciting or sexy, or is not going to hit a headline, but I can't begin to tell you how magical this has been. Being able to institute that as a change has allowed us to really expand the reach of TRP. So I'm not seeing any questions. I hope you share the excitement that we have in the progress that we've made, both allowing you to see information on your own and not be dependent on an email that you send to either one of us. We are always happy to answer your emails and welcome them for any kind of questions you might have. It makes it a little bit easier when you need that information right now, or your leadership is asking for it. You can click on it, enter your information, and get it. So hopefully that's useful to you. I did have a person this morning reach out to me via email saying, why am I not able to access this? I'm the TC. Turns out the old TC had completed the air survey, and then we pushed it over so that it erased her. So we were able to switch that back up and get her access, because it can happen. Things happen. We're working with computers. So if there's no questions about those points, I'm going to turn it over to Adam. He is our Air Survey Guru 2023.
I don't know. I don't know if I've achieved guru status in this short amount of time, but I'll do my best here.
We're pretty familiar with it after all that you've done to get the results. So handing it over to you.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. Seeing some familiar and friendly names on the list here. So it's great to kind of see you here in this format, introduce myself for real. So the air survey this year has been a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and share it. So we have a full-on drum roll, please, here. And here we go. Can everybody see that okay? All right, got a thumbs up. So the big drum roll is, as you might suspect, we're fairly static in the way that our data presents. There are not a ton of major changes, which are good because there's not a ton of major surprises. What I'd really like to comment on as far as the way that we analyze this data is we're very much in a transitional year, changing the number of sites. At the time of this meeting here, we've had 148 respondents. We're still chasing down about 14 companies, and we have a couple in just like a technological holding area while we get them set up. So it doesn't throw blue sparks out of our servers, as Mary likes to say. But, you know, this represents 148 companies who have taken the survey, which is 132,000 employees. As Mary mentioned, our total, including those other respondents who we're still waiting for, is up over the 150,000 mark, which is very exciting. So having that said, even though we're not losing employees, we're changing the nature of the way that those survey responses are being categorized. In most cases, merging the sites doesn't affect the statistics in any meaningful way. Most of the time it gets averaged out. But just like any large scale survey, what really proves out is over time. So we're going to continue to do some analysis and kind of thoughtful question and answer as far as, does this data yield any significant insights? But really 2024, when we have an opportunity to optimize the survey even further, 2025, once we start seeing this post-merger trend, that's really when we're going to be able to take a lot of action on what we're seeing here. As Mary said, moving to the merger also means we have an opportunity to pretty heavily revise the survey. Across multiple dimensions. There's a technical efficiency and ease of use kind of factor that we're looking at. Currently, for any of the TCs who have taken this on the call, you know that you get in there, you have the one super long question one, and then you've got like 14 other questions with kind of branching multiple pathways that go through them. We'd really like to kind of get it to where it's one clean scrolling survey, kind of a one-page thing. Just make it easier to understand, easier to go back and review previous questions. And then also there's a matter of relevance. As we've merged the sites, what necessarily worked in the past, is there a bus stop located within X distance of you? That's a very difficult question to answer when you have multiple sites and only some of them are located near a bus stop. So with sensitivity to the process and knowing that there's only so much that we can change in a year at a time, really the big push was getting the merged sites, getting the back end ready so it can categorize everybody in the system. And then over this next year period before the next air survey rolls out, we're going to look to address a lot of those questions that are kind of ended up being orphaned, so to speak, as a result of the changeover. This is something that we've noticed internally, and as well as it's supported by the feedback from survey participants. Want to take a note on that. Really want to thank everybody who took the time to add some feedback or comments in the air survey. To me, it's one of the best parts of the survey. I am a data guy and numbers don't lie, but context is everything. And so with those comments, we've been able to really understand, you know, what is difficult, what is challenging, what is really working. If I loosely kind of fit into buckets what the major topics were in the comments, is people are looking for the increased relevance to multi-site as it relates to answering one question. Is there a shower facility at each site versus is there just one and I have 6 other sites? That's important to capture that information. That's top priority for us. Lots of questions this year, as in every year, but we have an opportunity to continue to educate on what it means to do some of the calculations, like the FTE, so the full-time equivalent. If you're in accounting, if you're in HR, you're probably very, very familiar with this, but it's not always an accounting or an HR person who's taking this survey. Sometimes it's transportation or, general operations manager. And in that case, that can be a little bit of a sticking point. So in TC training, we'll see what other ways we might be able to roll out something that really allows folks to understand exactly what they're supposed to do for some of those questions. Because in the best case scenario, Mary and I have fielded a lot of questions involving that. We've walked people through it. In the worst case scenario, folks are taking their best attempt. And if it's an error that's not in the range that it's easy to identify, then our accuracy suffers a little bit. So more to come on that. Finally, a lot of folks were taking the time to clarify and kind of justify why they needed on-site employees. And so in this meeting, we just want to continue to reinforce that the goal of the program is not to turn everybody into remote workers. We recognize that many industries just don't have that capability. And so for folks who are in, mining and construction and retail and food and beverage and restaurant and any of the other ones, there are too many to count. Please rest assured that this survey is given without judgment. We're not a judging organization. That's not our job. It's really just to capture and understand where the flow of people and where our traffic demands and travel demands truly are, and how we can recognize those and work to provide carpool, vanpool solutions, better educate on transit needs. And so that's really where it is. So thank you for the clarification. In some cases, when folks have clarified for remote, we'll be reaching out to you and make sure that you're set up with the RWE. But for folks who have to be at work physically, we get you. Absolutely. Thanks for picking it up and laying it down every single day. So then the other thing, so that was two out of the three. The third thing is folks are taking the time to let us know about what we consider last mile issues. So again, there's a bus stop, but there's still a last mile that we're waiting for to get our employers from here to here. We'll be looking at those individually and carefully. We definitely know we have continued opportunity to discuss vanpool. We want to make sure that info on transit services are being properly communicated and promoted. There's no, like Mary said, there's no one size fits all here. So case by case for everybody who took the time to lead that, we will reach out and kind of make sure that we have done our job effectively in providing you with the knowledge of all the resources that are available to you. Just a quick couple of notes on the air survey itself. We're in as much as we're trying to capture more useful data around the evolving landscape of remote work, we want to be abreast of any technological changes. So we've added things like EV charging stations as something that we're interested in. It kind of works along. You can see, in 2016, started asking about wellness teams, the sustainability teams. This is just a natural evolution of that process. So the categories themselves are by no means static. As more events come into relevance or stop existing, like buffalo grass used to be on here, but that's to my understanding, it's not the same program as it used to be. So it didn't have as much relevance in the survey. Things like that, it'll continue to change and evolve. And like I say, with this being a large transitional year, the 2 to 3 year effect is really going to be where we're going to see some meaningful trends. Happy to take any comments or questions. I'll leave this up during that time so you can get a chance to see it. And of course, when we have the finalized results, we can push that out to everybody who's on the call if you're interested today. Mary, you're muted.
There I am talking to myself again. Okay, so a couple of things that I want to point out that are springboards for discussion for anybody here. That if, as we look at these percentages and things change, as an example, if you're an organization that has a wellness team and you would like us to participate or share information that is relevant to how could commuting have any bearing on wellness? We have several flyers, pieces of collateral that is on, they're on our website about how a wellness campaign or initiative within an organization, that when you're walking to the streetcar or you're riding your bike, and how it ties into those initiatives you might have in your organization. Also, when we see that bike to work, the percentage went up a little bit. Certainly not during monsoon or in summertime. Sometimes that's not always a good time of year to promote that. But we have bike maps. We have a whole bike count, bike map. We manage that piece of the commute system. And so we have an individual who is with PAG who can either participate in meetings. We can get a supply of bike maps. He'll deliver them to you. If that is relevant to your location, you might be along the loop, or you're in what we call a low stress route. So it's safe for someone to be able to bike to work. It gives you all the maps and everything that are relevant to our region. So if you want those, they're free. All you have to do is ask for them. And depending on daytime, we can get those delivered to you. But we look at the different percentages and the changes, and we want to be able to say, okay, that's a conversation to be had, or that's a piece of collateral that we might be able to create and send out to our TCs. Also, we see that with new hire orientation, that it's starting to drop of who is sharing information at that new hire point. So we'd like to encourage individuals that is when their Goslin imprintation happens. That's how they're trying to figure out, how am I going to get to work? What are my options? And it provides a useful set of choices that those employees can consider. So Karen has a question. Go ahead. You're muted. There you go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Can
now.
you hear me now? Okay. I'm having to use the telephone. Anyway, the audio was weird earlier. I have a question on the Guarantee Ride Home program. I saw, so in 2018, it's about 50%, and it jumped down to 16, and now, well, it went to 0, I guess COVID, but now it's only less than 12%. I'm assuming, was 2019 the year when PAG stopped funding that program?
Uh-huh.
And is there any chance of PAG dedicating funds to bring it back? Because it's a low percentage.
At this time, I'd say it's highly unlikely. The Guaranteed Ride Home, without seeing the raw data, I couldn't tell you who responded that way, but those would likely be employers who are funding that directly. At this time, we are not, and there's not plans for it currently. And because you are also a recipient from ADEQ on funding, the budget for TRP has not changed in 13 years, which
Yeah, but then
does. I'm sorry?
I recall this, talking to Ruth Wyman years ago, and she
Uh-huh.
said it wasn't even $2,000 a year. It was well below that with how many employers we have. So it's like a pittance.
I don't disagree with you, but in terms of, happy to talk offline of how to the penny ADEQ was even this year to fund the program. So, but we can have that conversation offline. We don't want to bore these poor folks about that stuff.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, Guaranteed Ride Home, the percentage that we do have, that would be the responses for employers who are actually funding that. So as of right now, and with the current funds allocated to the program, that is not part of the equation that rolls up to the grant that funds this.
And Karen, my apologies on that. This data point is in fact, folks who did answer the question, do they provide emergency transportation to folks who are engaged in ride sharing program? And I think I might have inadvertently applied that to the Guaranteed Ride Home. So apologies for the confusion on that.
Karen, is your hand still up? You have another question? Nope, I guess Karen, I know you're juggling between phone and online, so. But happy to have more conversation about that after this meeting. While I was listening to Adam share the information that's relevant to this data, I wanted to, I made note of some of the names that we have out here, and I want to point out that the difference that TCs make based on how they address the requirements of this program are amazing. And Roche, Michael, you were on this call. The significant jump that Roche made this year, just in May, I mean, it was not even night or day. It was like two sides of the planet different than last year. So huge thank you. Whatever magic sauce or bribery or whatever you did out there, it worked. So big appreciation to you. Also, Stephen, who is with Celestica, is also on the call. You are getting ready to survey this July. And you have a big group of people out there. So any concerns that you have or changes in your workforce, because you're a call center?
No, we're not a call center. We're an aviation manufacturing center.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have you confused with somebody else. My apologies.
Okay.
But you're getting ready to survey in July. Has anything changed out there?
No, we've added a few more people, a handful, maybe 10 people, but nothing else has changed.
Okay, great. My apologies for confusing you.
No problem.
And then Patty from Cade. I see that you're getting ready to survey in August. Is she still on the call? Maybe not. We may have lost her. Okay. Yeah, they seem to be growing leaps and bounds. Oh, there you are, Patty. Go ahead, Patty. No. I can't hear you. No. I saw that you unmuted, but I can't hear you. Okay, we're gonna move on. Kelly with Nova Home Loans, I saw that you were on the call as well. We appreciate you joining us. I know that you're new to this role. And I would think that in your line of business, you guys are busy right now. And then lastly, Douglas with the Arizona State. See that you were, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
You are here and accounted for. Thanks for being with us today. I want to share with the group that when we connected last year, you moved heaven and earth and had a wonderful response. He came late to the party, but organized his troops and had a really strong showing. So hats off. Now you got to beat that number this year.
We'll work on it. Thank you.
All right, we are 9 minutes before the hour. I had hoped to give you a few minutes of your life back. Please reach out to Adam or myself. We welcome questions. We want you to challenge us. We want to try and make things better, easier for you. As we go into the second half of this year, hard to believe it's going to be July 4th in a couple of weeks. We're looking for ways that make this easier so we have better data. In making these adjustments to our online platform, the precision of the data we're able to get is much more accurate. It informs all of the community and transportation planning that happens in our region. And we are very, very grateful to all of you who make that happen for us. So with that, I think we can call it a wrap. Appreciate you coming and participating, sharing a portion of your morning.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's there.
Thank you.